Those guys are amazing.
Improv.
They were
puppets.
improv. They were funny, amazing. They could do different voices and up there and all that. You know, I'm a guy, not fascinated puppeteering. And it was a great show. It was a great show.
So in 5 years' time, you're going to be a puppeteer. You're not going to be here at all then.
I mean, I could be doing both, right? I'll split my time.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, why don't you go to LA and join the Jim Henson Company, Brian Henson, and talk to him? I want to puppet up.
I've always found it fascinating. I remember a couple years ago, they actually had a reality show about working at the Jim Henson Company.
The creature.
Yeah, the creature show. Yeah. And I think that's what really made me like actually see people in action building these creatures, and and watching them come to life is so magical.
Magical, that's the word, isn't it? It's magic. What we do is sort of it's an illusion, but it's magical.
It is. It's hard, and you know you're up there and you're looking at the monitor, and
it's an abstraction, but it's a trick. It's a mind game that we're playing. You know that everyone believes when they're watching puppets. You know they're puppets, and yet like you know if you watch Yoda and Empire Strikes Back, for example, you know that it's not really. Flesh and blood, but you still just accept that he's real and that he's a character that he thinks, and it's just that's the magic of it, though, and that's half of it is what we as performers, I guess, give, and the other half is what you do when you watch it. It's amazing.
I wanted to ask, because from what I was doing my research, it seemed like the both of you always knew that this was going to be your career path. Like you always wanted to be like puppeteers in the entertainment field. Is that something growing up you knew this is what you wanted to do? This is what you were put on this earth to do?
See, I only grew up to be 4'4", but then again, for me, I was going to be the showbiz.
Yeah.
It intrigued me. My dad wanted me to be an accountant.
Oh.
So I was studying accountancy. It was so boring. At least I learned how to count on this, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And
that's counting money.
Exactly. Fail in taxation, past taxation, fail in company law. I said, boring. Joined the drama school 6 months later. 6 months later, quit that. My dad said, now what? I said, I want to be a comedian. He said, it's a joke. That's how I started stand-up comedy.
No way.
In London, man.
What?
Yes.
Oh, man.
That's where I met the manager there, and the rest is history.
Wow.
I did the movies and all that.
I didn't know that.
So,
how about that? That's amazing.
Yeah, that is really cool.
One has to have that drive, desire.
Yeah, it's a big part of it, the passion.
Passion.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. When I started out, I wanted to be an accountant. No.
You did.
No, wait a minute.
Exactly. He wanted to be an accountant so that I can count his money.
Exactly. Actually, I was a big, as a kid, I was a big Disney fan, and I loved animation and cartoons, and any cartoons really, in fact. So I would do a lot of drawings, and instead of, when I was at school, I'd be drawing cartoon characters instead of doing my schoolwork, and my books were covered in cartoon characters. So I thought maybe I'd become like an animator or something like that, or an artist. And had I kept that up, I think I probably, like anything, if you do it enough, you can become good at it if you have the passion, as you were saying. So in one way, I wish I had kept that up, because then maybe I could actually draw properly now, and I regret that. But I was about 12 or so years old, 12 or 13, and Muppet Show came along, and these were like moving, living cartoons. They're still cartoons, really. They're an abstraction, and I just became obsessed with those. So I just, all my focus and passion was on how do these things work, how are they built, how can I make these myself? So that became my obsession as a teenager, and that's how I got into So even as a youngster, I knew that's what I wanted to do. I had puppets as well as when I was a kid. I had a little puppet show when I was about 8 years old with glove puppets, and I'd do auditions for the BBC and things like that, and I was really bad at it, which is really funny. I was terrible. I never got through an audition or a job or anything. But these little puppets, I wrote the script, and to me it was really important that at the end of the show, one of the puppets got a custard pie in his face, because I love slapstick. So that's how that was my big finish for the show.
That's awesome. Okay, so you mentioned the Muppet Show, and of course, it's something that is just kind of like embodied in all of us. It's one of the greatest things of all time. Is there a Muppet that you most relate to? Maybe both of you, a favorite Muppet per se?
I think all puppets are great,
Okay.
especially the Muppets, Kermit the Frog.
We love Kermit.
I think it changes as a, like when I was starting out, it might have been Gonzo because he was sort of the misfit and nobody understood him and he was a little bit wrong in the head and stuff, So I quite liked him at the beginning, but as I've sort of become older, I sort of identify or sympathize with Kermit a bit more because the company was like Jim Henson, trying to keep everybody together, all these weird, crazy people. Present company accepted, of course. Trying to rein them in and bring everyone together to that one goal, that one end of making whatever vision he had, whether it was a Muppet project or creature project. So and because of where I'm at in my life now, I can sort of identify with I guess not only Kermit, but where Kermit was an exaggeration of Jim in many ways. There's a scene in the Muppet movie, the original Muppet movie, where the car breaks down in the desert, and they all get out and camp out for the night. And Kermit sort of wanders off and has a moment with himself, and he sort of thinks, look, I've let everyone down. I brought everyone out into the desert, and it's all my fault. And they followed me and they trusted me, and it's my responsibility. And I just felt that was Jim, talking to himself. On his Muppet journey with all his puppeteers and builders and writers and things. I think it was really about Jim.
Oh, I love that. Do you guys have any questions? Whatever questions you may have.
Nice.
We'll start here first, and then we'll go to you next. Go ahead.
I was wondering, do you have a favorite Star Wars movie, or at least favorite Star Wars movie, or pretty much all the same to you, or
Favorite Star Wars movie was the question. Do we have one?
out of the 9 that have,
Out
or
of the
even the
9,
extras? I guess
yeah.
there's Rogue One as well.
Out of any of them, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought Jedi was amazing.
Jedi.
So
It changes. It has. Oh, sometimes for me it's the last one that I was involved in because I'm the most excited about it.
Right.
And I associate the memories of being on set with the people that we enjoy. So I can't really be objective about I think as time passes I can be more objective about which I think actually this is my favorite Star Wars movie. But the original one that was called Star Wars for those younger people. That was unique and that was amazing. That was that's what started it all. So that's a favorite for one reason. Empire is a favorite for so many other reasons. Not least Yoda, who I was obsessed with when I was still at school in Empire. So and Jedi, of course, was a whole other level again for so many reasons. Technologically wise, and the speeder bike sequence to me is amazing. The way they came up with that, and there's no underscore, there's no musical score under that whole scene. It's all sound effects. Isn't that brilliant? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what a favorite is.
Do you have a least favorite?
Pardon?
Do you have one you have it difficult to sit through?
Probably for me it's the third one, Revenge of the Sith, because it was the most to me it was the most serious one, darkest one. So I guess that's the one I've seen the least.
When you mentioned that you auditioned for like the BBC, was Pinky and Perky one of them?
No, it wasn't, but they were around then, and Sooty, and these were like talent shows, that they'd have for kids on television. And as I had no talent as a kid, I didn't get to, thankfully. I had, in fact, my auditions were usually in 2 parts. I started out with a magic act, and I was really bad at that. And then the second part was this puppet show. I was terrible.
Fair. Go ahead.
What was it like to play on Return of Oz?
Turn to
Return
to Oz.
Yes, did the TikTok Tin Man.
TikTok, yep.
Yeah.
TikTok, you have to move backwards hard.
Yeah.
You gotta be fit. Move backwards, but that's amazing. TikTok and Tin Man.
Walter Murch, right?
Yes.
He directed.
He directed. Unfortunately, that was the only movie he did. But then
He's
again,
a famous film editor,
it was for Coppola, and then Disney fired it. And
Lovely man though, wasn't he?
he was, but Disney fired him and they went to Lucas. And Lucas said, you got to hire him, which they did, they babysat. You know, when you got a powerful like Lucas, Spielberg, Apollo, all were one month, 3 months. They're all there. Each month they took 1 month each, just to complete the movie.
Wow.
And it wasn't very popular movie either, so Disney lost a lot of money.
What a shame.
Yep.
Yeah. Veruza Balk.
Oh, love her, yeah.
And,
Yeah, that's awesome. So, Mike, I wanted to ask you,
Yeah.
because we kind of are in Orlando, which is the Star Wars hub of the world. Were you part of Rise of the Resistance?
Yeah, thankfully we shot that at Elstree, or my parts of it at Elstree, just before we did the last movie, Rise of Skywalker. So I came over to California, when would it be, 6 months earlier or several months before, and visited Imagineering, and they showed me the animatic on the laptop of the ride, and I remember thinking, people are going to be in tears when they go through this thing. This is amazing. Normally when we shoot Star Wars films for my character Nien Nunb, I speak in English and then they have to dub it afterwards and match what I've said, because sometimes we make up that, you know, we don't know what we need to do when we're shooting, so, or they don't know what we need to do. They change things as we go along, and often it's improvised, and you know, we try different things. But for the ride, because it all had to be timed out so perfectly, all the little elements, it was all pre-recorded with the Kenyan voice guy. It's the same guy that they've used right from Return of the Jedi through the movies and the ride. They found him. He's a teacher in Kenya now, so Nien Nunb speaks Kenyan. So we,
Abariako,
yeah,
Missouri Sono, the
Yeah.
Swahili.
oh yeah,
Was born in Nairobi, Kenya.
yeah, yeah. So there you go. So and we had to shoot like extra bits for idling as well, like if the ride breaks down or they have to pause the ride, so we talk about things, you know, what do you have for lunch and that sort of stuff. And it was amazing though, actually, and some parts we had to shoot for daylight outside, because he flies the shuttle, you know, in the ride, and so because the window outside the front is supposed to be Batu, sometimes the ride is being ridden at night, so we had to shoot those bits daytime with two different lighting reflections on them, you know, lighting on them, daytime and nighttime, which you don't even think about.
Right.
But it was amazing. Those guys were great, you know, the Imagineering chaps. It was great fun. Yeah, it's really good.
I can't even, like, have you gotten to, like, go on it, and is
Yeah.
it so surreal, like, being like, that's me?
It's-
I can't even process
Well, as a huge Disney fan as a kid, you know, that was when I was a little lad with my pocket money, I bought this Disney picture book, and there were the flying Dumbos and all the rides, and I thought, you know, being a poor kid from England, from North London, it wasn't ever something that I thought I would ever get to see in my lifetime, so I could just enjoy the pictures instead, let alone be in a ride, you know, years later. It's just so weird. Life is strange like that, isn't it? And it's not something I take for granted at all. It is very special, and yeah, it's just it's still a bit hard to believe, really.
Yeah, it seems so incredibly surreal. My gosh. Who else has a question? Okay, so I wanted to ask, obviously the both of you have had such wonderful careers, and now, like you mentioned, you have a puppet. Like, if people want to learn, we can learn from you. You guys have been such big trendsetters, but I want to know, what's been some of the best advice that you guys have been given during your careers that now maybe you would like to pass along?
Best advice. Has anyone ever given you any advice apart from don't do it?
No, but the thing is, you know, because like I said to you, I'm going to repeat myself, it's the passion that you've got to have.
Yeah.
And if you've got a determination.
Yes.
And I know what it can.
That's like a secret ingredient, isn't it? To
That's
success.
what it is, you know. I mean, look, success can't be measured. It's the respect that counts.
Yeah.
But what's the success? It's
Yeah,
different to everyone.
yeah.
It's different
It's
to
not
everyone.
necessarily being famous. Yeah.
But it's different to everyone.
Yeah.
But who am to advise anybody? I'm still learning myself.
Advice. I mean, yeah, you have to really want to do it, I think.
That's
because
what it is about, you know. If you got that passion, determination, and you can do it.
If you can,
in any
yeah.
business. any business.
Yeah, to be good at anything, to excel. And then if you're doing enough of something that you really love, if you spend enough days, weeks, and months doing that, you're going to be better than 99.9% of everyone else, because they don't do that. So, and for I don't know about you, but for me, not being a puppeteer was not an option. So, there was the focus and the passion, and somehow the universe helped line up timings and positions as well. That you get opportunities put in front of you because you allow them to happen. You open that up for yourself.
That's what it is. Very lucky to work on 3 of the biggest franchises: Star Wars, Star Trek, Doctor Who.
I still got to do Doctor Who. I'm so jealous. I love
the
that.
other person that did was Simon Peck.
Oh yeah.
He's done all 3. I'm very lucky. Very lucky. I'm very lucky to have worked with Tim Burton. Did 4 movies with him.
Wow.
So, 3 with J.J. Abrams. And hey, so been very lucky, fortunate.
We're not done yet, right? We've got a bunch more ahead of us.
Not,
Because you're only like 25 now, so right?
I think he's 26, right?
Yeah. So you
I'm
have
actually 21.
21. Oh, okay.
Okay. So we can get a
IMDb
later.
was wrong. It's rubbish. IMDb. IMDb is wrong. So we got all this stuff ahead of us yet, right?
Yes, actually, my friends wrote some animation.
Yeah.
So let's see. Got a successful meeting with Warner Brothers
Oh, that's
for
exciting.
television. And let's see what happens. It's
Yeah.
for Amsterdam. And animation, television series. Let's see what happens.
Brilliant.
Warner Brothers are interested. Paramount are interested. Fox. Let's see where it goes.
For sure.
Yeah. It's exciting, yeah.
So since you did mention Tim Burton, out of curiosity, what is his directing style like? What is he like as a human?
Well, first of all, he's a brilliant director. He's the only director that I know has done animation and features together. And he's done it 3 times, doing both movies, animation and feature. And I remember when we were filming Charlie, he was doing Corpse Bride with it too. I said, "You're freaking crazy." I mean, this is the 3rd time, when I went to him, he was doing Frank and Weenie, and then he was doing Big Eyes together. Those 2 movies together. I said, "What's trying to do?" He did 3 times. And finally he said, I kept telling him, and finally he didn't do, and working with him, he doesn't do that many takes. He always used to say, "I got this." I thought something different. I remember when I first worked with him with the Planet of the Apes. That's how I met him.
Okay.
And through Rick Baker.
Great. Oh, Rick. Yeah, Rick Baker.
And,
Ultimate makeup
and
artist.
he didn't want to work with kids. When he saw me, he said, "Great." He asked me to do Big Fish, which I did. And then started talking about Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And he showed me it's going to be 4 Oompa Loompas. Then he said, "I changed my mind. It's going to be 7. And then he said, "But other 6 are going to wear your mask."
Oh.
And they couldn't find people. And they brought in the kids. That put me to shame as dancers. Yeah. And I said to him, I said, "It's not going to work." He said, "Why not?" I said, "You put the mask onto them. They're going to look at the marks. If they hit the mark, that's the shot is going to ruin. And you got 4 hours to shoot with them. You got to send them to school." And then he says to me, "Now what?" I said, "I'll do it myself." And he looks at me. He said, "I got to give you a camera test." I said, "Give me a camera test for what?" He said, "I want to make sure you keep an equal distance between you and you." He said, "Oompa Loompas are like a regiment. You do 7 this way, 7 that way. No comedy." I said, "Pick up a song that's not in the script. I'll give you 2 weeks to rehearse and all that." So I pick up a song. It's not unusual to have fun with anyone. Tom Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Brilliant.
It's not
Good
unusual
call.
to have fun with anyone.
Da-da-da-da-da.
So I did that. I did the first 7. He said, "Come and have a look." I said, "No, let me do the other 7. I did the other 7. He said, "I'm gonna come and have a look now." I said, "Yeah, I looked at it." And he said, "You asking me, what do you think?" I said, "I could have done better." And then he said to me, "That's brilliant." He gave me a high five. That's how these 165 individual Oompa Loompas I did. That's in a Guinness Book of Record.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
All of you were great.
Thank you so much.
And I'm sure
I
all
think
the-
we were all, He used to say to me, "How many in your family today?" And then he asked me a question. He said to me, "How do you feel when you see loads of you on the screen?" I said, "Weird."
But the paychecks, the multiple paychecks are very good.
It wasn't multiple, but then again, they looked after me and they did.
Yeah, it's amazing.
They did.
It's a world record. That's amazing. I didn't know that.
What's the specific record for?
To play the most parts,
In a
165
Oh my god.
individually.
Who else can come close to that? Nobody.
Maybe Mike.
Okay.
164.
Okay.
Oh.
You were so close, Mike. Sorry.
Not in life.
Sorry.
Oh man, I was doing so well.
Close.
Enough, let's have questions.
Yes. If there's any more questions, now is your chance. Yeah, go right ahead. We'll go you.
Roy, how was it like working along with Johnny Depp?
I was working along with Johnny Depp, amazing, talented guy he is. And he always said to me he wanted to be a rock star. I said, "You are a rock star." He's a great singer, plays a great guitar, and he's got a group called Hollywood Vampires. I got Keith Richards with him playing. I saw them, and they got 200,000 people come and watch them.
Alice Cooper, yeah.
Alice Cooper,
Yeah.
another great guy. I mean, and brilliant, but Johnny, talented, but he gets a bad rap. He does, but he's a great guy. Great guy.
Awesome.
There was a question here, and then we'll come to you next.
He can go first, but I was just wondering, with Nien Nunb, in the scenes in Return of the Jedi in the cockpit, what were you able to see or comprehend in those scenes as far as did you shoot with Billy D. Williams quite a few scenes, or was it more like single shots? Were you able to tell what was going on in the scene and react to him? Or were you more directed as far as this is what you need to be doing, or
Right. Yeah. So the question, if you didn't hear, is how the scenes with Nien Nunb in the Falcon in Return of the Jedi was shot. Basically, was I
Yes,
aware
yeah,
of what
yeah.
was going on?
Right.
Yeah. So basically, yeah. I mean, essentially, it was a two-hander. We shot in 2 shots. It was just as though like us two here. We were both in the Falcon together.
Yeah.
We both had the same script. They had 2 cameras on us, and they'd do a 2-shot. They'd do some wide shots. They'd do singles as coverage as well. Sometimes pickups, partway into it, or sometimes a few lines at a time, and we'd go over those lines again and again. We'd feed each other our lines, just like an actor would. So, and I had because he was a puppet in that, in the new films he was a costume that I could look through the eyes of, but in the original he was a hand puppet because it was the only way to get his mouth to move back then. They didn't really have the tech in a short space of time back then. So I suggested doing it as a hand puppet. So they had to cut out the bottom of the seat of the Falcon for me to lay down flat on my back on so I could get out of shot. And they would lower the puppet in through the window onto my arm. And so my left hand was in his head, my right hand was in his right arm, in his right hand, steering the yoke of the Falcon, and his left hand was just a fake hand fixed onto the yoke. So, and I had a monitor so I could see what the camera was seeing. So I saw what the director would see as well. So I saw the entire shot. The cockpit was on a rocking gimbal. It was on scaffolds that stagehands would rock around, and they had a lighting rig on a rail that would go over the Falcon cockpit, so it looked like it was doing barrel rolls and that kind of thing, so we get the lighting on us correctly. So for me, I was seeing the film while I was performing, and it was very real. But Billy D and I would interact with each other, and in between takes as well, we'd chat about stuff, and then we'd do the scenes together just as a two-hander. But I got motion sick in there because it's like being in the hull of a boat at sea, and I'm not very good with that anyway, so I did get quite motion sick doing that, actually.
What did your script say? Did it have English, or was it
my script was terrible because it didn't say anything. It literally said, Nien Nunb chatters an alien language, a liquid alien language, no less. And then it had really these responses to everything. And we didn't do any read-throughs or rehearsals beforehand. You know, we just showed up on set, and that was it. The film was running a little bit behind at that time, and so Richard Marquand was directing the Rancor pit scenes on another stage. So George Lucas actually directed the cockpit scenes at the same time, and then he just showed Richard what was going on, and they, you know, communicated. But George directed these scenes, and so I knew that I had to act. I had to say things that meant something, and it had to make sense physically, visually, emotionally with the character and the timings and the head positions and cadences, but also to help beat Billy his lines as well. You know, he had to say something, and they didn't know what his language was going to be, what he was going to sound like at that time. Same with Jabba the Hutt. We'd just lay down English guides, and they would dub them later with something else that we didn't know what it was. That's not always the case now, but that was pretty well how things were done then. So I wrote my own dialogue in English in pencil, so I could rub it out quickly in case you know, George didn't like it. So I wrote down what I thought he would say. Things like, I remember, you know, we're not getting a reading on the shield, and TIE fighters at 12 o'clock, and they all fed his lines. They all were logical, so it all made sense. And I literally just showed it to George on the day and said, "Can I say this, please?" And he just looked at it and went over everything I'd written, and he was sitting in his director's chair and just looked up at me and said, "Yeah, that'll be fine." And that was it. So I wrote my own dialogue.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
That's awesome. And I hope you also have a very good chiropractor as well, if you're laying on your back with your arms up like that too.
I don't remember that. Yeah, was it
Yeah, the masseuse on the
Cairo?
set.
Yeah, it wasn't from Cairo.
No.
Fair. I think we have time for one more question, so the gentleman in front.
You guys keep up with the original cast? Do you mean like talk to each other still? Or, like, I know Carrie's passed, but Mark Hamill and all them, do you still?
Usually only at shows mostly, but a little bit online sometimes, once in a while. Yeah, not that often though. I mean, everyone has lives, and you know, except for me, and they all ignore my emails and my phone calls. You know, when I turn up at the front door, you know, these cops appear with something about a restraint warrant. Yeah, that thing, restraining order. Yeah, I don't know what that is, but so I tried, but they don't like it very much. Yeah.
You answered it.
Fair.
Except for Deep, he's always asking me around for tea,
Yes.
and I never show up.
Yeah.
Maybe,
Yes, Mike. No.
maybe today's the day. So before we do wrap it up, any final thoughts you want to leave us with here?
Any final thoughts? Hopefully see you all tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right.
Orlando, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you very much
Yes,
for
thank you for coming
sitting
over.
in on this. But also, you know, we're here because of you guys, right? I mean, Star Wars just keeps on growing, and it keeps giving back to us. I mean, you know, we're the lucky guys, honestly.
Yeah.
So you know, and it's like I think of it as a genie that just keeps on granting wishes all the time for us, because we get to sit here and do this.
Exactly, because the force is with them.
Oh, I
Force
love
is with
that.
you.
Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
I couldn't think of a better way to end the panel. Thank you guys
The force
so
is
much.
with them. Thank you so much for coming. Much appreciated.
Have a good weekend.
And, have a wonderful day, great weekend, and be safe, be happy. Life is wonderful. You guys are amazing.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yes.
Thank
May
you.
the force be with you.
Mike Quinn, everybody.